Good evening, and everyone, welcome. And I'd like to begin our presentation with the faculty's acknowledgement. And first and foremost, we acknowledge and are grateful to live, work, and learn on the ancestral and traditional territories of the Métis people, of the people of Treaty 6, 7, and 8, and the homeland of the Métis people. I'm so sorry, I bungled the acknowledgement. And I just wanted to say that we are hopefully coming to you from right across Alberta, and maybe we even have guests from beyond Alberta. So welcome to you. And next, the Faculty of Social Work are committed to eradicating all forms of injustices based on race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, age, socioeconomic status, religion, and disability. We acknowledge the inequities experienced by racialized people, Indigenous peoples, and other marginalized populations. And we really like to open our presentations to potential students and students with acknowledgements, and they mean something and they help define who we are as a faculty of social work. So thank you for joining us. We have an hour's presentation today. And it's going to be exciting. My name is Anne-Marie McLaughlin, and I am the Associate Dean of Graduate Programs, and I'll be co-hosting this presentation with you tonight. And with us, we also have Nicole, and I'll turn it over to you, Nicole.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole. I'm a graduate student advisor. I'm based out of our Calgary campus, but currently mostly working remotely. My email, the best email address to reach me is up on the screen. It'll be again at the end.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Lovely. And now just briefly, and we're so excited to have a group of keen students with us. We'll briefly introduce them and they'll come back and join us for the rest of the presentation later. Go ahead, let's start with Amanda. You want to just say hello?
Sure. Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm in Coquitlam and it's evening. I'm in the Masters of Social Work, Leadership and Human Services program. Yeah, do you want me to say anything else?
No, that's good. Thanks, Amanda. Beautiful. We'll come back and spend more time with you in a few minutes. Next, we have Joy.
Hi there. My name's Joy Nordstrom, and I am zooming in today from Treaty 7 territory in Calgary. And I'm taking my very first certificate. So I'm half done the Advanced Social Work Practice certificate.
And last but not least, John.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John, tuning in from Edmonton, 36, in my final year in my master's program. And I can't wait to talk about my experience, and I hope it will help you as you decide to join this program.
Thank you so much, John. Behind the scenes, we have Calvin Lack, but he won't. He's pulling the strings behind the scene. All right, so let's get launched. I think Nicole is going to launch our polls, and then hopefully Nicole will remember to remind us to look at them later. But right now, we'll just look at the agenda. We're talking a little bit through the survey about who you are, who we're speaking to, who's in the audience today. I'm going to also talk a little bit about the Faculty of Social Work and what graduate certificates are generally. I'm going to give you an overview of our certificate offerings. Nicole is going to talk to you about the admission requirements and the process for applying. We've got a few FAQs for you. And then our panel will take over and tell you a little bit about their educational choices and their journey. And then we'll wrap up with some final questions. So I'm going to just begin right now with talking to you a little bit about the Faculty of Social Work. And our mission statement includes the phrase, creating social well-being and just societies. And we try in many ways to integrate that thinking into the curriculum that we present. We are, of course, one of the largest, maybe the largest school of social work in Canada. We have over 1,000 students, 60% of those at the undergrad, and 40% at our graduate programs. And those include a master's program, but we also have a PhD and our newly introduced graduate certificates, which we're here to talk to you about tonight. We are nationally accredited. We actually are being reaccredited. We're in the cycle of reaccreditation right now, and it's quite exciting. New and incoming students may have an opportunity to participate in that. We are recently named one of the top 5 research-intensive universities in Canada, and we're very proud of that. We like to integrate the fabulous research that our faculty are involved in throughout our coursework. And we have 3 streams in the MSW program. One of them is our international and community development stream, the leadership stream, which Amanda is representing here for us today, and of course our advanced clinical social work practice stream. And both John and Joy, I believe, are in that stream. But I might be wrong about that, actually, about Joy, sorry. So why would somebody be interested in taking a graduate certificate in social work? And maybe our panelists are better equipped to answer this, but some of the things I thought about were enhancing practitioners' knowledge and skills. Maybe people want to update and discuss current trends and innovations in social work practice. You can certainly get that through the certificate route. Enhanced job prospects. People come looking for a way to demonstrate a particular depth or knowledge in a particular area. Certificates are certainly a way to do that. Build on a specialization. John is specializing in clinical social work practice and wants to hone his skills in that area, and so is laddering into an MSW in that way. And of course, our certificates do ladder towards an MSW, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So what are the graduate certificates? What do they look like? Okay, right now, our certificates are, all of them are 8 months in length. All of our certificates have 4 courses in each of them, and we spread the 4 courses over 2 semesters. So 2 courses in the fall semester and 2 courses in the winter semester. Many of our certificates are accessible province-wide, actually Canada-wide. We do have some that have residency requirements, but others have very few residencies. Some have no residencies, and they are minimal so that people can come from different places. Maybe the north of Alberta are looking for certificate education, and they need to travel to Edmonton perhaps maybe 3 times over the course of their certificate. The certificates are all very prescribed in that the courses ladder and build on each other. So you take them in the sequence that they are offered, and you can't really alter the path of those. To complete them, you must have, you must achieve a B- to have success in the certificate program. And as we've already said, they are an 8-month program, and you graduate with a graduate certificate in whatever your particular specialization will be. So as you can see from this little diagram, you start in the fall. So September to December, take 2 courses, and in the winter term, January to April, 2 more courses, and then you have completed a certificate, and you will be receiving a parchment with that on it. In order to obtain a graduate certificate in social work practice, yes, you must have a BSW or an MSW degree to take advantage of the graduate certificate education process. You will be registered part-time, but you're still eligible for student loans. These are standalone credentials in that each certificate you complete, you receive a parchment, and it is its own credential, but they can also be stacked together to eventually move towards obtaining your MSW. graduate expectations regarding the workload and effort, and I'd like our students to talk about that for sure, that this is quite a bit different than going to a workshop or professional development. When you enter into a graduate certificate program, you're actually working alongside students who are in the direct entry program, and you carry the same course workload, the same amount of readings, writings. It's a regular graduate program. We try to be a bit more flexible because we understand people are working and have busy lives, but we also have the integrity of the MSW program to keep in mind. So be prepared if you're thinking about taking the graduate certificate, that you need to really be prepared to think and work at the level of a graduate student. And the workload includes asynchronous activities, reading assignments, synchronous Zoom sessions, and some mandatory face-to-face residencies. So the exciting topics of choice coming available this September are the following. So we have 3 certificates that we're offering in September of this year. They are the trauma-informed practice, and this one is going to have residencies in Edmonton, and the residency dates are there. They're also online. We are also offering the advanced social work practice certificate, and that one is completely online, so people don't have to travel to residencies for that. And our third and most exciting offering this September is our new leadership certificate, the Practical Leader, with residencies online as well. It's a fully online program, and this also will ladder into an MSW, but you won't be a clinical. If you ladder with this specialty, you'll be laddering into the leadership specialization. I just put the little fire there at the bottom because each year at the same time, we admit a group of students who are taking their final step into the FIRE program, which is actually the MSW program. And if you're maybe not interested in coming this year, but you're thinking about coming in, oh, look I forgot to change the dates on that. If you're coming into 2023-24, the topics are, again, we're offering trauma, only this time the residencies will be in Calgary. We are again offering advanced social work practice, and that is online. But in 2023, fall 2023, we're going to offer a new certificate, and that is going to be our community development with residencies also online. So those are in the next 2 years, what we're looking at offering in our certificate program, and we are very excited about those opportunities. Just to give you a quick overview, Joy can talk a little bit more in depth about these. These are the courses that the advanced social work practice contain. There's a social justice and theory course, research and philosophy, advanced practice theories, a theories and methods course, and of course our policy practice, which rounds out the certificate. The trauma-informed courses, these are the names of our courses in our trauma-informed certificate: the fundamentals of trauma-informed practice, impacts and interventions across the lifespan, trauma-informed practice with Indigenous people and communities, and advanced trauma interventions in diverse contexts. And in our leadership stream, which Amanda can speak more to, organizational structures and management, transformational leadership and supervision in human services, innovation and establishing credibility, advocacy and diplomacy. Those sound exciting to me. Now, if you want a picture of what it looks like to ladder into the MSW, this will give you a good idea. The lovely thing about certificates is that you don't need to sort of take them in a particular prescribed order, but there are some things that you do need to take in order to ladder towards the MSW degree. So you can start with a specialization topic, such as the leadership topic or such as the trauma topic. You can take either certificate to start. The next certificate that you would take in the following year would be the Advanced Social Work Practice certificate that Joy is in right this moment. And then in the third year, you would take your practicum and seminar. And at that point, you are admitted to the MSW program and degree, and you end that step with your degree. Or conversely, you can start with the Advanced Social Work Practice certificate, then take your specialization certificate, and then in the third step, take your practicum and seminar and leave with your degree. Now, I'm just going to talk very briefly about the laddering, because we're really not here to talk about the laddering process, because has a different application window of time. But some of the highlights are that you can pursue a local practicum placement with the support of our field coordinators. So you don't have to be in Calgary or in Edmonton. You can remain in your home community and complete a practicum. You will be offered weekly or bi-weekly evening online seminars using Zoom to stay connected. There will be some weekend residencies. They may be online, they may be face-to-face, it's hard to say. The capstone, which is the integrative exit requirement for the program, happens at the first week of April at the end of that program. And again, it's an 8-month process, the fall and winter terms, and distance fees apply to that. And maybe I'll let Nicole take this last part of the note, Nicole, regarding how many years in program. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah. So if you do the quickest you can do the laddering route via certificates for your MSW is 3 years. So you can't take 2 certificates at the same time. That's a very common question. So you have to take one after another, and then the final year is the MSW. So that is 3 years minimum. The maximum is 6 years to complete those 3 steps, if that's your intent. So for example, if you would like to take a year off between advanced social work practice and your clinical certificate, for whatever reason, that's totally fine. You don't even need to apply to take a year off between, which is really quite nice. This route often helps people who are going to be taking maternity leaves or switching jobs or moving across the country and just have a lot of big life things going on. So you do have up to 6 years as per the grad studies policy to complete it. You have to apply for the final step within 5 years. So leaving that 6th year to actually complete the program.
All right. Thank you very much. And take it away.
Okay, back to me. So we have a few questions in the chat about this very first bullet. So there's no budging on if you need a bachelor or a master's of social work degree. So unfortunately, if you have some other degree, whether it's a BA in psychology, or you have 20 years experience working in human services, unfortunately, you still aren't eligible for this program. We do have some other really great programs. We have a foundation program that you can contact us about, and we can give you some information, but there's kind of no budging on that requirement. You have to have a minimum GPA of a 3.0 on a 4-point scale. We recognize BSW degrees accredited by the CASWE and CSWE. If you have an international BSW, please connect with us, as that has to be accredited and deemed equivalent by CASW. I can send you instructions on how to go through that assessment. Often they do come back equivalent, but not always. So just connect with us if you have an international BSW or MSW degree. Something to note that, as someone did ask me already, if the degree must be conferred prior to the start of the certificate. So the answer to that is yes. So it has to be awarded before the first week of September. So most of you should be in a good position, but if you're taking courses next winter, you'll have to wait for next cycle to apply. You need the equivalent of 2 years of full-time paid work or a minimum of 3,000 hours of paid or volunteer work in human services. So that the amount of hours needs to be at the time of application. You can't just have the hours by the time the program starts. So when you submit your application, you have to have those hours. It can be from multiple jobs. It doesn't have to be 3,000 hours from one position. There's no time limit on when these hours count. I'm just trying to cover some of the questions people ask. If this is a combination, you can have a combination of paid or volunteer to gain those hours. So when you're presenting that to us, you're presenting it in a detailed resume indicating these hours. So we know that often it's an approximation if you've been working in a position for a long time, but when you're presenting your resume to us and uploading it, if you could please be very clear in how many hours in each activity, whether that's paid or volunteer. The evaluators find that very useful just to make sure that we're giving you credit for all the hours you have worked. Practicum does not count as volunteer. You can include your practicums just in a different section, as those don't count towards the hours because those were for credit for your BSW. So other than the resume, the other portion of the application that's pretty important that people kind of glaze over, there's some application questions embedded in the application. So there's three short answer questions that are about 500 words, and we really would like you to take your time on those and come up with some good responses. So you can start an application, read those questions, complete them at a later time, take your time, and then submit it. Just don't rush through those, as they are factored into the assessment and your overall score. We need one set of official transcripts from all of your previously attended post-secondary institutions. If you did do any schooling with us, your BSW or your MSW, it's likely if you did it after 2010, we have all your transcripts on file. So just, you can email me and I can double check for you to make sure you don't have to order those again. And then English language proficiency, if applicable. So that's only kind of if you fall within a certain category of countries. Again, you can ask us and we can let you know if that's a requirement for you or not. So the process, so you'll have to create an EID. The instructions are on our website. Then you'll access the online application, pay the fee. That's when you can kind of see, you'll have to select your choice of programs. So either leadership, clinical, trauma, or advanced social work practice. And then you'll kind of go through the questions. Once you officially submit it, you'll have to also request transcripts to be sent to us. And just make sure you upload your resume before the deadline. Please upload it before the deadline. We will remind you once, but after the deadline, there's nothing we can do. The system closes. We'll be sending out the slide deck and this recording after probably early next week whenever it's ready. So all the links will be accessible then. Okay, so some frequently asked questions. Can I take more than one certificate at the same time? No,
Check.
because yeah, that gets asked a lot. You cannot. So one at a time. Can I apply to more than one? Yes. So I'll further explain this. You can apply to a specialization certificate. So either clinical or leadership and advanced social work practice in the same admission cycle. You can't apply to both leadership and clinical. You'll have to make a choice. You don't need to send 2 sets of transcripts for those applications if you do decide to apply twice. You will need to answer the questions again and upload your resume again. I answered the question about the transcripts. If I decide to ladder, will I automatically be admitted after completing 2 certificates? Anne Marie can take this one. This one also gets asked a lot.
Yeah, this is of course, a really important question for people. but people do need to know that the admission to the MSW continues to be competitive. So there is not a direct line from the certificates to the final laddering pathway. It's a cause of concern for some people because at one time we had many more applicants than we could possibly accommodate, but we've sort of come to an equilibrium where we have a smaller number of certificate offerings, but we offer the laddering pathway on a regular basis, so that if you aren't able to, if you aren't successful in the first application, it will come around again. But we do try to keep a good number of seats for our certificate students available for the laddering. So it is competitive, but it's certainly less competitive than our direct entry program. It's a pretty good balance. So the answer is no, you're not automatically admitted into the program. If you were interested in going through all 3 steps with only one admission, then the route for you is our direct entry program. Anything else I should say about that, Nicole?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, we do get asked that one a lot. So yeah, no guarantee. Do your best when you're in them. Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to ask any questions? Should we launch into our panelists now? Or do you think there might be some application or some?
I can maybe ask a couple of those ones just to kind of get them out of the way so then the students have free range to kind of talk.
Okay.
How are the 3,000 hours calculated and by whom? Is it an honor system?
Yes, it is an honor system, and social work is an honorable profession, and we expect that applicants will be honorable and ethical, and you calculate them as you write out your resume and you indicate to us how many hours you committed to this volunteer project or to this paid employment, but it's completely an honor system, and put your best ethical self forward, and that's always the best idea.
Mm-hmm. Another one I'm getting quite a bit is if I take one certificate, can it translate towards the MSW? Can I get advanced credit if then I get accepted to the MSW next year?
No, you cannot. These are completely separate routes, and they don't, there's only one laddering pathway, and that is via 2 certificates, one of them being the ASWP and then entry into the MSW. You will not get advanced credit for courses, and we make that clear in the application so that if you forget, you'll be reminded, because it's right in our application process. So unfortunately, there is not, you don't get advanced credit for those courses.
Yeah, exactly. We do have, there's someone this year who actually took our gerontology clinical certificate out of interest and has now been admitted to our clinical MSW in a different topic. So because those are completely different courses, like you could take the leadership certificate and then apply to our MSW clinical, but you'll still be taking the full amount of courses in the MSW. So you're not going to get ahead, but you can kind of, it can maybe boost your resume up if that's of interest to you.
One more, and then we can go to our panelists.
Yeah. People are asking about the cost. It's about $5,500 for a certificate, including all tuition and fees. One question that's getting asked a lot, Amory, is a good one, is kind of course load. Is this feasible with a family? Is this meant to be kind of a part-time thing?
Yeah.
Will I be drowning if I do this and work full time?
Yeah, I mean, these are wonderful questions, and really Joy and John will be in the best position. Maybe and Amanda has some insights about that as well, in terms of how do you balance graduate education with family life and jobs, etc. We think of it as an opportunity for working professionals to obtain graduate education. So we have planned that these courses don't occur during working hours, so that you can attend classes in the evenings, weekends, but it's not a cakewalk. I'll leave it at that, and we'll expand on that with our panelists. But thank you very much, Nicole, for those questions. I'm going to stop the share screen. I sometimes forget that, but I remembered today. And we'll have our wonderful panelists begin, and perhaps it would be interesting for our participants if our panelists would introduce themselves, maybe talk a little bit about their social work journey and what drew them to their specialization in the first round, and then we'll ask a few more questions after that. I'm gonna let's start with Amanda, and then we'll have Joy, and then we'll bring it up with John at the end. So Amanda, if you'd like to begin.
Sure. So I worked for like a long time, like 20 years or something, in social services. Well, maybe not that much when I started the program, but in social services and as a social worker, in I kind of ran the gamut. So I started in working in disabilities, and I moved to working in psychiatric, and I worked just so many places, like addiction, victim services, like I did it all. And then about 7 years ago, I got asked to start doing some teaching for an association around vicarious trauma, compassion, fatigue, and that kind of stuff. But when you talk about that, you actually start talking about organizations and what organizations do, because that impacts like the experience of the service providers, right? So it kind of evolved from there. I did a certificate at University of British Columbia in organizational coaching, and I started to work with organizations, not just nonprofits, but like small business, any organizational structure where they needed like coaching. But I really found that I wanted to stay in nonprofit, and I wanted to stay in social work because our mission is different. So it's not so much about making money, which was lots of the like aim of the coaching, like why I would get hired to make people more like better at their jobs. Whereas in social work, it's really about like, how do we address this social problem, and how do we create organizations that can actually like work together to address a social problem. So yeah, so I was looking for programs like kind of across the board that would help me build my skill sort of beyond coaching. And I looked at like master's degrees in organizational development. I looked at all these different degrees, but really I found that like if I wanted to stay in nonprofit, and if I wanted to stay with a social worker lens, pretty much this program at U of C was the only one that was accessible to me. Like I couldn't find another one in Canada that was like it. And I also couldn't find one that like was at a price I could afford, basically, right? Because if you go into the States, it's like insane. So yeah, so that's how I ended up in the program.
Thank you, Amanda. That's an exciting journey, a social work journey that you've had. Wow, impressive. And so that led you into the leadership. Your specialization is leadership, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you're in the leadership. Wonderful. Joy, tell us a little bit about your journey and what drew you into the certificate, to take a certificate route versus the other way.
For sure. Yeah, no, I'm happy to. So again, my name is Joy. I use she, her pronouns. And I also, like Amanda, I've been working for about 20 years in the field. And so I'm like a middle-aged, social worker, and love my work. I work for a municipal government, and I've spent most of that time in community development. and have been really passionate about grassroots community development, about grassroots granting, and really working from an empowerment approach with communities and people. A couple years ago, I started I was inspired to think about my own education because I was feeling a desire to kind of move on into other opportunities and other positions. I was starting to talk with a lot of my colleagues that had gone back and pursued education. I had a wonderful experience with a practicum student that I think is here tonight, and that inspired me to pursue my own learning. So I attended one of these sessions last year. I'd heard about the certificates from a colleague, a partner that I'd been working with. And so I dropped in and attended one of these sessions. I chose to go this route because it worked best for my family. I know one of the questions was, can you do this in work? Yes, you can do this in work, and you can raise kids that are like, have really busy social lives. I have 2 teenagers. It's busy. There are times that are busy, but it's still manageable. So that's why I chose the certificate route, because it worked for me and my family and my needs. And I chose the advanced practice one because I'm really interested in staying in either a community or a leadership stream. So I noticed that if I took this program this year, I could look at one of the other options in the coming years. Oh, and I think you're on mute, Anne-Marie, but I bet you're saying, let's hear from John.
I was saying, wow, first of all, very nice. Thank you, Joy. And yes, let's hear from John and where he is at and why he chose to come the certificate route, John.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So as you know, as you heard, I'm John. I actually graduated from U of C. That's about, I think, 10 or 11 years ago now. Yeah, and actually my intention wasn't to go back to school. I didn't want to go back to school. Not that I didn't want to, but you know, as a family man with jobs and all of those stuff, I thought I won't have the time to actually go back to school. And I've been working in the non-for-profit sector for a number of years, over 10 years, not 20 like Amanda enjoyed, but about 10 or 12 years. And I'm also a field practicum instructor for students. I have done that for the University of Calgary, for Grant McEwen, for University of Manitoba. So on one of those supervision, when Julie Mann Johnson came to my working place at the Catholic Social Services for the students that she had there that year, it was after the entire process, we sat down, we started talking. I told her, she asked me, where did you graduate from? I said, oh, no, from U of C. She said, oh, but why don't you come back and finish your master's? I said, oh, no, Julie, no, I'm not going back for that. Then we started from one thing to another. She said, there's a great program that will really, really suit you, because I told her I'm working, I have family, it's so difficult for me to go back to school. So she told me about this program, and I kind of inquired about it. I came to a section like you have come tonight. I learned a little bit, a few things about it. And then I said, you know what, I think I will give it a try. Because for me, it was mainly about the schedule, right? And so I looked at the schedule at the time, pre-COVID. The schedule was like, I would go to school on Thursday evening, I think Thursday evening or Friday evening, and then whole of Friday and Saturday. So I said, I think one day can work, man. I can talk to my managers for that one day and work. Now, so that was my desire to come back to school. But now I did trauma as my specialization, and I have a few months now to actually finish my master's program. But the reason I decided to do the trauma, I have been working with immigrants for many, many years. And many of those immigrants that I work with, have so much of trauma in their lives. Either it's from war, from, rapes and all of those stuff. So sometimes you are talking to the immigrant, and it's all about the trauma that's already in their mind. So when I went back to school, my whole aim was like, I want to do counseling, family mediation, and things like that. But how would I do that if I don't have an understanding or the basis of what trauma is? Because most of the clients I'm going to mediate in their families or counsel are clients that are filled with trauma. So I decided to do trauma as my specialization, and it was lovely. And for those of you that are here tonight that really want to come, depending on your schedules and things, I know you have some questions that we will try to answer. But I think you will love it. You will love the program because I definitely love it. And I don't regret coming back to school.
Well, thank you so much, John. So great to hear your story. I wonder if we should switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about how you balance the workload. What are some of the highs and what are some of the lows of being a student, a graduate student at the University of Calgary Faculty of Social Work? Amanda, let's start with you. What are some of the highs that you would see as being a student, and what are some of the lows, or what are the struggles or challenges that students might have?
I think for sure the lows are the workload. Like it was a struggle, not just for me, but other people in my cohort as well. And I don't know if certificate is the same as master's in the sense that I'm in a cohort, so I have to take certain classes, so I can't take one-offs. Like I have to take 2 at a time, and I have to, I kind of have to follow the program.
You have to follow the program. Same.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I felt it was pretty challenging in the master's because it was ongoing. So it's been 2 years, right? Whereas I think maybe the certificate might be a bit different because it's not ongoing. So you just kind of gotta buckle down for 8 months. I don't know, maybe it's a bit different that way. But my experience was that was really tough. It is academic, you're writing academic papers in the leadership at least, and you're learning. So there's lots of reading and thinking and talking and doing group projects. And yeah, so that was challenging for sure. And we all exist within contexts, right? So we all exist within context of our families and our work lives and all those things. So it can add up. The highlight was the learning for sure. I would say the professors were outstanding. So if you come into the program and you have similar professors that I had, they absolutely know their stuff. They've been in this work for so long. They understand organizations. Anything you throw at them, they'll be able to give you an awesome view of it. And also the people I went to school with. So the people in my cohort, people come from all different places of leadership and social work. And they have such profound expertise that it's totally inspiring. I think the other thing around learning, one of my big learnings was, and this might sound dry, but it's actually not in practice. So one of my big learnings was actually to connect theory with practice. So I'll tell you how that came out. So in one of the organizations I work in, the executive director is very, there's lots of kickback when she does things because she's very transactional. And so in my leadership course, I learned that that's actually a theoretical framework she's using. And I was really challenged to look at it not as what's wrong with this person that she's creating all this polarization, but rather what theory is she using and what are the benefits to that? Because there might actually be benefits to that. It might work well sometimes. And when is it limited? And how can I come into that with my own theoretical position and kind of come alongside that and work with her in it? So for me, that was a really big shift. Yeah, so the learning was the highlight. Sorry if I said too much.
That is really, really lovely. No, thank you. Thank you very much, Amanda. Joy, what have been your highs and lows?
Okay, so I'm in trouble unmuting there. So much of what Amanda had to say, I'd have to agree with. My highs really have been around the instructors, the learning community, my fellow peers, and also the material. So I have found the instructors to be extremely knowledgeable about their material and also accommodating. they're really open to answering questions and thinking about how to make the projects work, the assigned projects work for individual students' learning needs. I'm going to jump around a little bit here, Anne-Marie, because one of the challenges for me in the program is that most of my cohort or the other people I'm studying with are really interested in a clinical approach to the work. So I have, it's been challenging at times, especially if there's maybe a group project or if the material is really geared towards clinical approaches or theories to work. So I have found my instructors to be very open to discussing with me how to get my learning needs met for the, the direction that I want to go. So that's been very positive. My peers, Amanda alluded to this. So people that are attracted to the certificate route, I think a lot of them are coming with a vast amount of experience, and they're just bringing so much to the table. I have people in my group from coast to coast to coast. We have people up in the Yukon, from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. The majority are logging in on the prairies somewhere, but it just brings a really interesting collective environment. And I've really enjoyed meeting people that way. And the material, I've been super inspired. I think my work colleagues are like, I'm often coming to work or like logging into work meetings, like, oh, I read an article about that. And I'm sharing the information that I'm learning because it's really inspired me, and it's invigorated maybe and challenged my thinking in new ways. So yeah, if that stuff's all been really awesome. The only other challenge, maybe, I guess, yeah, it's like juggling. You are balancing multiple things. How the program for me is, or with the certificate, you're taking one class for about 5 or 6 weeks, and then you have 1 week off, and then you're taking another class. And I see John nodding, for 5 or 6 weeks. And then we had about 4 or 5 weeks off over that kind of end of year, New Year's time. And so the same will happen in the fall. I'm going to take another class with a short, break, 5 to 7 days, and then another class. So it has helped me balance, because I can focus on one subject matter kind of at a time and really immerse myself in that topic and that area of learning.
Thanks, Joy.
With the promise of a break.
Lots there, yeah. John, I know you've got a lot to juggle on your plate. What are the highs and lows? What have they been for you, John?
Yeah, I'll start with the low, because I always like to end with the good one, right? So the low for me was coming back to school. Like I said, I graduated like almost 10 years before coming back. And I don't know about some other people, but if you have jobs and you have families, there's no way you're going to keep up with all the written materials and keeping yourself academically up there. You're not good. There's no time to do that. So when I came back to school, the first semester was really, really tough for me. Getting back into the academic rhythm was really, really hard for me, right? So for me, that was a little bit the low. Getting back into that rhythm, because I don't like low grades. I don't like to fail, and so that pressure, putting that pressure on myself, was really, really hard. Now the hard is I got a lot of encouragement from my colleagues. Can you imagine? I was thinking like, oh man, I think I'm old for this program now, and things like that. And I was in the class with I think at one point there was a lady there who was almost in her 60s, I believe. Then I was asking myself, but if this person is like almost in her 60s and still want to get her master's, then who am I that won't, press on to get this? So that was an encouragement for me. And then, like I said, I graduated from U of C. So there were some familiar faces in terms of instructors that taught me when I was doing my BSW that were still there. So it was easy for me to connect. Actually, I did one of my course, social justice, with Emory, which was really, really great. So if you are thinking about that, I don't think you will escape it. I think you will have to take it. You will enjoy it if you do it with Emory. So that was good. So the instructors, like Joy said, they are really great. They understand that we are adult students, that we are not like 18, 19 years old children that just graduating from high school, their brains are fresh and sharp. So they work with us. They go step by step with us and things like that. So that was encouraging for me. Another half for me is I have to give credit to my wife for the patience that she had with me, because working and then going to school, there are a lot of things that I'm not able to do in the house and things like that, juggling things back and forth. She has always been there. I think if I'm able to go through this, I have 2 more months, I believe I will. I will give credit, this degree, I will actually give credit to my wife for the patience and everything, even work and taking care of the family and all of those things. So for me, that's the high, and that's the first one was the low.
That is so super sweet, John. The shout out to your wife. Yes, good on you. And thank you so much for everything that you've said about that. I really appreciated the lows there, John, and finding your rhythm in the program. And also that you said, I mean, the profs, they're very enthusiastic about their topics and they give a lot of readings, and there's textbooks and there's books, and then, but you can't read everything. You're right about that. And you have to be selective, and you have to pace yourself. And I'm glad that you found your rhythm in the program, John. I wonder if you want to think about just one or two, we only have a few minutes left, but words of advice for people that are coming in that might help them, you know, navigate or balance things. Any advice that you'd, just maybe one or two pieces of advice. Let's start with John again, maybe, and then we'll go end with Amanda.
Yeah, I would say take it one at a time, one step at a time, right? I don't know many of you that are coming into this program, depending on your age, depending on your experience, depending on your job, what you've been doing. Maybe you might be in my shoes, maybe 5 years, 10 years before coming back to school. Take one step at a time. And one thing I love about this program is when I was doing my BSW, I was doing like 4 courses at a time, sometimes 5 courses and things like that. This one, I'm only doing 2 courses at a time. And I think it's easier to juggle 2 courses than if you're doing 4 or 5 courses. So my advice would be focus on what you want. There's a specialization that you have to do. Focus on what you want. Focus on your strength, what you already have been doing for maybe the past 5 or 10 years. You are not coming to do anything new. You are coming to gain more experience on something that you've already know. You are coming to build onto the experience that you have in the past. So focus on that and one step at a time.
Nicely said. Thanks, John. Joy.
Yeah, it was really well said. I have just one practical tip, and that is the faculty put on a number of sessions, the week and a half before the program began. So if you've been out of school for a while and you're like kind of worried about doing the program virtually, I really encourage you to attend those sessions, and then you get a little bit comfortable with the platform that they use, and also around research. I know when I was in school the first time, I think we had microfiche, right? And we had the little cabinets with the cards, I think. So like there's a whole like kind of hour or two, they'll talk about virtually accessing resources in the library and all that kind of stuff. So attend those, and don't feel anxious about those learning opportunities.
Excellent. Amanda, words of advice. Sage.
I would just say, yeah, I don't know if I have that, but I would just say, like, know why you're going into your specialty, and because that will partly, like, having that purpose will partly keep you in it even when it gets tough. And I also think that, like, you really need to know why, because that's all you're going to be talking about, right, in the classes. So
all right. Thank you so much, everyone. It is 6:59. Nicole, I'm wondering, are you able to answer the questions in the Q&A just as we've been going, or were there some things that a few minutes for the panelists? What would you like to do here?
Yeah, I've gotten through like maybe 70 questions. Some people are kind of still confused about like the benefits of the certificate route. Like what would really make someone go this way? I guess Joy and John would be good maybe to answer that. Why did you guys select this direction instead of the direct entry?
Maybe I start. Like I said, I didn't have the time. So if I were to go to the direct entry, I wouldn't have the time to work and go to school. So for me, that's the biggest part of it. So when I learned about this program, that at the time pre-COVID, it was okay. School starts in September, and I was going to go to school on Thursday evening, then hold a Friday and hold a Saturday. I could, then that's only 1 month. Then I'll have to do that in October. So I have the whole month to work and just do that 2 days. So I could let that. I could actually do that. So for me, that was motivation for me. And I said, if it is only 2 days that I have to go to school the whole month, of course there were evening courses, but that's after work, right? So I said I could do that. For me, that was the motivation for me. I could go to the direct entry, but I didn't have the time for that. If I had the time for that, I wouldn't have spent 10 years before coming back to school. But I kept procrastinating every year because of that time and things like that.
Right.
So for me, time was really, really important for me. And so this program worked for me. It suited me. It suited my job. And the time was okay for me to do it.
Thanks, John. Joy?
Yeah, the only other thing I'd add is that I have bills. I'm part of the population that has bills, so I have to work. So the certificate program, it allows you to, depending on what your family's needs are, that you can still manage if you're doing full-time work and pursuing education at the same time. That's a significant factor for me.
Thank you both. Nicole, one more question maybe, and then we might have to wrap it.
Sure. Another one that's becoming a little bit common is if I have an MSW or I don't want to ladder, is there significant benefit to just taking a certificate? So either in leadership or trauma is basically what they're asking.
Yeah. I mean, I have some thoughts about that. I think going back to school it's a privilege, it's an honor, it's a time to look at issues, to make a new network of colleagues and friends, reflect on the whole business of social work and what it's about. If people have that inclination, it's worthwhile. I think it might also add skills. People might want to change jobs. They might want to chart a new path in their career, open new doors. I think those might be some of the reasons that graduates, people with MSWs might want to come back. For sure, the leadership. I think if you've been maybe in the front line for a long period of time and you've been drawn, you've been pulled into those leadership roles, as you will be, but you maybe don't feel you have the framework to really do the best that you can to be a leader in the social work field. I think the leadership certificate will be such a fabulous opportunity for people with great skills and great experience to put all of that learning into a framework that will help them be leaders of social work. Not we have so many other kinds of leaders that run our organizations and programs. We need more skilled, ethical, principled social work leaders. So I think there's just scads of room for growth into the leadership certificate. And hearing Amanda speak about what it meant to her and what she learned and how she thinks about things and connecting theory with practice, that's exciting. Other people want to chime in on why they might think that?
Well, I think, and the only thing I want to add on that is each certificate is a standalone credentials. So that alone is a benefit, right? So let's say you don't want to ladder to the master's program. but maybe you have a seasoned job, but you just need to develop maybe in trauma. You just need to get that specialization in trauma to boost your career in what you already do. Then that alone is a benefit for you to come and specialize in that. So again, if your aim and your goal is to get your master's, then this is a great opportunity because the two certificates will help you to ladder through to the master's program. So because it's a standalone credentials, it's a benefit from my angle.
I think the other benefit is that it has helped improve my ability to advocate and the work that I do, because I'm able to kind of position the work I do within a broader spectrum, especially the classes on social justice, the connections with research. I would say that I'm serving the community better. And on a personal level, just what John said, like I told myself, okay, I'm going to do the first certificate. I'm going to see how it goes. And if it's not for me, that's okay. I'll walk away with a completed certificate. And if it's something I really want to pursue, then yeah, I'll apply for the next one. So for somebody that's maybe risk adverse at making big decisions, it kind of works that way too. You can piecemeal.
Any reflections, Amanda?
I think if this option had been open to me, I probably would have done this instead of like the master's degree that I did, because it has more flexibility to it. I also think when you're talking about leadership in social work, like you don't need a certificate or a master's to be a leader, but so like in terms of like clinical, sometimes you actually need that certification to do the work, right? To be like, but in leadership, you don't need that. However, I think that this program is super unique because it integrates leadership with social work perspectives, and you don't get that like other like just mainstream leadership models and organizational models. They don't attend to power, right? They don't attend to those other pieces that we must, like as ethical social workers, attend to. So it's very, yeah, like you will change as a person from taking the certificate, and you'll change as a leader, I think.
Wow. I think that's good. I think that is a good place for us to end. I really want to so warmly thank this wonderful panel for taking the time to share their insights, their struggles, their joys of education. Oh, joy. And thank for participants for your great questions and for your interest in the program.